Well, joining me now is Katrina Pearson. She's a spokesman for Donald Trump's official national campaign. Welcome to you indeed. Now, this whole question of Melania Trump echoing Michelle Obama's words, have you any idea how this happened?
Well, this happened because Mrs. Trump was talking about values that her parents instilled in her. And, you know, it reminds me a lot of Elizabeth Dole back in 1996, who talked about his word being his bond. It reminds me of Laura Bush back in 2004.
No, I know this.
I
mean, there is a sort of first lady thing, which is to
Absolutely.
talk about values.
Well, that's my point.
But the word for word echoes do seem a little bit odd.
There weren't word for word all the way. Even some of the reports that are coming out now are saying, well, it wasn't actually verbatim, but there were absolutely similar phrases. And these were phrases that many people have used, whether you're going to a motivational speech, whether you're reading a book by a successful entrepreneur.
But did anybody, whether Mrs. Trump or someone writing a speech for her, actually refer to Michelle Obama's speech of 8 years ago?
Well, I'm sure they referred to a lot of speeches by a lot of people because this was the message she was trying to convey. Because she loves her husband. She comes from a foreign country and she wanted to talk about that journey. She's extremely successful, brilliant woman speaking 5 languages. English is not her native tongue. And she really wanted to communicate to Americans in phrases that they've heard before, like Laura Bush and like Elizabeth Dole.
I mean, Mr. Trump did accuse Joe Biden, the current vice president, of being a plagiarist, and he said he was better than that because he wasn't a plagiarist. I mean, in that sense, it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it?
Well, actually, Melania Trump's not running for president, so it's not really something that's being looked at in that way. But if you plagiarize something, and let's just say you are plagiarizing someone's speech or someone's policies for that matter, again, these are just simple phrases that many people use to communicate their values.
Do you think, will there be any consequences in the campaign? Is anybody going to resign or be fired?
Not at all. Not at all.
Definitely not.
Not at all. We had a fantastic evening last night. Mrs. Trump did an amazing job. For her very first political speech, she knocked it out of the park, and we are extremely proud of her.
Why are we seeing so much of the Trump family here this week? I mean, I'm sure they're nice people, but we've got one of his daughters is going to introduce him when he speaks on Thursday. We've got 2 more tonight, and I think another son is speaking. Is it basically because the only people who like him are members of his family?
No, I think it's actually the opposite. What we've seen throughout the entire Trump campaign is the media trying to create a caricature of Mr. Trump and his business, for that matter. And this is an opportunity for Mr. Trump and his family to really show the American public who they are without that media filter. And it's really important that Americans know who Mr. Trump is, because for decades they know who he is as the media mogul, as the apprentice celebrity, as a businessman, and they want everyone to get to know him as a father.
I mean, as you say, there is an official role for the First Lady of the United States, so one can understand that, but first daughters, first sons, I mean, they don't really have a role, do they?
Well, it depends. You know, Mr. Trump's children are adults.
I mean, is it true
they're taking over his business?
Is it true that he thought about making one of his daughters his vice presidential candidate?
No, again, that's where you run into the media narrative around the family.
Yeah.
Well, that's my point. We see a lot of that in the media, and so this week is an opportunity for Mr. Trump and his family to talk about who they really are.
I mean, of course, he did say that he would date his daughter if she wasn't his daughter, which
well, when he was joking around,
yucky,
in entertainment, that's completely different than in politics, which is why it's important to distinguish who Mr. Trump is, the man and the father, rather than the entertainment celebrity.
But there is here a great deal of vilification of Hillary Clinton personally. A number of speakers last night saying she should be in jail, she wasn't fit to be First Lady. And so,
well, I don't know if that's vilification. I mean, we're talking about 65% of the American public thinks she should have gotten in trouble for mishandling classified information.
Yeah, but that is rather different from saying she should be in prison or she's not fit to be First Lady.
Well, actually it's not, because when you have someone who has been in public life her whole life, as First Lady of the state of Arkansas, as someone who served as First Lady for 2 terms with her husband, as someone who served in the United States Senate as well as Secretary of State, claim to not know how to handle classified information, that is a disqualification.
But I mean, she's not crooked though, is she? And this is what Donald Trump says every time he mentions her name. He talks about crooked Hillary. I mean, whatever else, you may not like her, but she's not crooked. I mean, show something crooked that she's done.
Well, let's take the Clinton Foundation, for example. When you have, while she was Secretary of State, Bill Clinton garnered a deal with Canada and Russia to sell a uranium mine that she signed off on. And shortly thereafter that, he gave a speech to a Russian bank and received $700,000. That's pretty crooked to me.
Why is it crooked? I mean, she's acknowledged that she was paid for it. She has a relationship
Has she?
with... Yeah.
She's acknowledged that?
Yeah, of course she has. She's acknowledged that she's been paid for her speeches. Why is that crooked?
As Secretary of State...
Do you think that Donald Trump
Secretary
would
of
stand
State,
up to scrutiny of his business deals? And
if you're a servant of the public, she was Secretary of State.
I see.
Overseeing the sale of a uranium mine
so
to
it's
Russia.
okay in the past for him to maybe use
Private office, public office,
use a bit of
different.
political influence, but it's not okay for her.
Well, private office, public office.
There do seem to be double
different.
standards, though, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely not. When you are a public servant and you are representing the people of the United States, and you are making deals behind the scenes, this was not a public transaction. She didn't talk about this publicly.
Right.
And they're still not talking about it, by the way.
So why
this is just one incident of many.
But this is an accusation. You made an accusation against her, yet we know that Mr. Trump has not been forthright about his own finances. He hasn't published his...
Mr. Trump is a private citizen in the United States.
He's running to be president. He's running for the top office.
But in the United States, you are a private citizen. And when you are an entrepreneur and dealing with your own private business, that's completely different when you're dealing with state business.
So there's no need for us to know the business background to
Donald Trump. Oh, no, that's not what I'm
Trump.
saying. Not at all. I can promise you that Donald Trump did not sell a uranium mine to Russia. And I can also tell you that those business transactions that Mr. Trump has had over 40, 50 years had nothing to do with state secrets.
Okay, this is the second day. This is the day where we hear from all the states down on the floor how they're going. What are you hoping to do with tonight's events at the convention?
Well, tonight we are looking to do the theme today is Make America Work Again, getting jobs and the economy back on track. So that's going to be the main theme of today. And then nominations. I mean, Mr. Trump, we have been told that he didn't have a campaign, that he didn't have a ground game, that he didn't have the delegates. And what we've seen time and time again is one success after another, whether it be winning 38 states, turning out over 10 million votes, breaking the record in the GOP primary turnout, and crushing in delegates when the Rules Committee voted last week, 87 to 12. And we expect to see more of that.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Katrina
Great to be
Pearson.
here.
Well, lots